Happy Palm Sunday, everyone, or as we're calling it up here in Maine, Pine Sunday this year. Just that's what we can get our hands on. And little reflection here for us. I think one of the things that's been really going around and we're trying to sort out is how to respond to anxiety and worry. And when is anxiety or worry appropriate? You know, I've seen a lot of people asking or kind of questioning whether we should be so anxious or worried, and then other people are saying we should be more anxious and worried. So you have, seems like, two different camps that are kind of battling it out, saying we're not worried enough, you need to be more worried, you need to be more thinking about it more. And then you have other people who are like, this is crazy, people are way too amped up, way too worried, and it's not doing anyone any good. And it's really not about necessarily even how seriously they take the coronavirus, because you can have the same people, they can agree on how dangerous the coronavirus is, but they can really disagree with how we should respond to it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we might call healthy and unhealthy worry. And I think in our Christian tradition, it gives us a really good tool bag, kind of we have a really good way to approach this in terms of looking at the fruit. Because it has to do with discernment, really, in terms of discerning, is this healthy or unhealthy? So you look at the fruit. Usually if something is from God, the fruit is that it gives you strength, it draws you outside of yourself, it gives you clarity. These are all signs of really just the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, that there's a sense of freedom and of empowerment. Whereas on the other hand, if something is a negative, if it's not from God, it usually gives additional confusion, despair, isolation. It causes us to freeze or to be kind of paralyzed, and to feel like the room is kind of closing in on us. So I think we should apply. Now that doesn't just apply to something like this; it applies just generally. But I think if you apply it to this whole question of the coronavirus, if you in the news you're reading and the thinking you're doing, the way you're processing this, if you find that it starts to cause you to isolate and to feel paralyzed, to feel discouraged, to start losing a sense of purpose and meaning, and to be more prone to temptations and kind of giving in or giving up on your integrity, or just losing your temper, all these different pieces, then I would say, well, those are negative fruit. That's not healthy concern. It's not healthy worry. It's not doing any good. It's not. In fact, it could actually, if you allow that kind of worry and anxiety to start to spiral, it can actually be more dangerous to you, because it can make it easier for you to take other risky behaviors. It can make it easier for you to hurt the people around you. And it can actually also make it's unsustainable. So it can be easier for you to be like, to heck with it, and then blow off the whole thing, and then actually put yourself more at risk for getting the virus. So that's not. We know that anxiety and worry can move you in a direction that can be very detrimental, can be really problematic, and can be very harmful. Healthy worry, healthy anxiety, not worry maybe, but a healthy way of processing this. What does it do? It means that you take in enough of the truth, you take in enough of what's going on, so that you can be aware, but it's empowering. So you got to know, okay, this is how things spread. This is what I should do, so you can take appropriate action. So you can make sure that you're washing your hands. So you can make sure that you're, being smart about the people, being around how many people and all these kinds of questions. Okay, that's empowering. But you also maybe you're thinking about other things, liabilities. Oh, I need to be reaching out to these people. It's empowering. It makes you others focused, others centered. What are some possible, as you're thinking about the whole challenge, notice you start thinking about it as an opportunity. You're thinking, well, what are some opportunities to make sure I'm reaching out to people? What are some ways that... So notice that your worry, your anxiety is not translating into paralysis, but it's translating into a kind of activity, a proactive approach. It's not causing you to shut down. It's causing you to find strength and to find a motivation to do things that otherwise you might not. And it also, there's a sense of, it should give you not a sense of, the walls closing in around you, but more of a healthy sense of, okay, this is what I can do. Here's something I can do. Here's something I can do. Here's something I can do. And also give you a sense of you're not in a sense of fear. There's a kind of concern, but it's not a kind of paralyzing fear that you can almost see it in somebody's eyes, when they're like, when they're in that kind of instinctive flight mode, fight or flight. And so now look, we all go back and, we're all going to have our moments. However, I would say if we find ourselves, our consumption of the media or kind of our reading of things is getting us to a point where we are being paralyzed. We're paralyzed. We're just, it's too much. It's too much. And we've got to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to be aware, empowered, carry out the responsibilities that I have? But how can I change my kind of my awareness of coronavirus such that I can be fully myself in the midst of all of this, that I don't start to fall apart, that I don't start to lose my temper, that I don't start to try and kind of take care of myself with ways that are actually self-harm, drinking and other kinds of things that just overeating or whatever it might be, too many Netflix series one after the other. Those are all kind of things that end up actually hurting us in the end, right? But we're trying to compensate and cope if we're just not processing things well. So I think the key is moderate the amount of news so that it doesn't overwhelm you. Some people are going to be able to handle more, and they're not going to flip out. They're not going to be paralyzed. They're going to be okay. They're still going to sleep through the night fine. Everybody has a different threshold, as far as what becomes paralyzing and what they can handle. Figure out where yours is. And it's not going to be the same as your spouse or your children or your parents or your siblings. Probably going to be different. So it's okay to say, it doesn't work for me to have more of this. I need to take a break because otherwise it's not going to be healthy. I need to just take a break from watching this or whatever. Okay. Or don't even say it. Just go take some time, go on a walk, get a cup of tea, do whatever you need, do something different. And then I think the other piece is don't underestimate, in terms of a tolerance for the bad news. You can also build up a certain immunity to bad news by refocusing through your prayer and through other healthy activities as relationally as possible. You can build up more of an ability to handle bad news by basically keeping that bigger perspective, remembering the things that really cannot be taken away from you, the things that matter the most, to find opportunities for service. I think in particular, that servant mentality. What can I do to help? What can I do to serve? I am a servant. This is, what did our Lord say? Came not to be served, but to serve. We start approaching our daily life in that mentality of the servant. Well, then that really helps us to not be as worried that something we need is going to be taken away from us, because we're not thinking about what we need. We're thinking about how we can help meet the needs of others. So we're growing into Holy Week, and the other last piece I would say is this: we got to give each other some latitude on this, because everyone is going to react differently, and some people are going to get really anxious about it to the point of just kind of shutting down. Some people are going to get really cavalier and just not care. Some people, but kind of not care, but still be kind of dealing with things in a different way. Everyone is going to deal with this differently. And I think rather than getting angry because somebody's not reacting to coronavirus the way you think they should, why don't we just try and work on the way we're reacting? And rather than allowing our concern and our anxiety paralyze us or cause us to get frustrated or angry or just go into negative behaviors, to fall into sin, we would say in the church. Instead, ask the Lord for the grace to, how do I acknowledge the reality, but not let it keep me from serving the needs of others around me and being the person that God made me to be. So it's a bit of, it's a challenge. We got to help each other out each day. But I think it's good practice. It's good. It's good for us to work on it and to be able to handle adversity. Maybe we haven't had to handle a lot of adversity, but we're looking at some scary things. Okay, let's learn how to look at scary things and not lose it. And instead to ask the Lord to help us walk through it in a way that we learn more about ourselves and about one another and about Him, and we come out stronger in the end. So, know my prayers, and God bless you. Happy Palm Sunday, and have a wonderful, if I don't connect up with you at some point in some way, have a wonderful, fruitful, and holy week.